In the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. So before we jump into the sermon today, I actually need to check something. Because as I was reading that gospel, something just got stuck in my head. I feel like we're missing a qualifier. I feel like we're missing, maybe there's an asterisk or a footnote somewhere. I feel like there's something we're missing. So let me just look real quick here. So Luke 6:27. But I say to you that listen, love your enemies. Okay, so right there, that's where the qualifier should be, right? Say, love your enemies, except that kid in 7th grade who called you names on the bus and was really mean. It made me cry. I don't have to love them, right? So, okay, so love your enemies. There's no qualifier. Okay, well maybe it's an asterisk. You know, they're so tiny. Just let me look again. Love your enemies, except those whose views on the world are so abhorrent to you that it just makes your blood boil. I don't have to love them, right? So the asterisk is right. There's no asterisk. Okay, well, it's a footnote. It's got to be a footnote. So down here. So say to you that, listen, love your enemies, except those who just make such horrendous evil in the world, who do acts that are just beyond comprehension. I surely don't have to love them. So the footnote is, there's no footnote. So there's no qualifier, no asterisk, no footnote. Just love your enemies. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who abuse you. The magnitude of what Jesus is calling us to is staggering. Love your enemies. Love those who hurt you, who make you mad, who make you cry. Love your enemies. Now the temptation, once the depth of those words start to sink in, is to try to jump straight to the how. Okay, Jesus, how exactly do you want me to do that? I mean, can you give me a list? Maybe just a few things. I can do it. Those will count as loving my enemies, and I'll do my best. I mean, I really will. But honestly, did you hear what that person said yesterday? Did you see their last tweet? How am I supposed to love them? How do you want me to do this? And therein lies the problem. When we attempt to jump straight to the how of loving our enemies, we miss out on the most critical part. The part Jesus is actually trying to get us to see. The why. Why are we instructed to love those who hurt us, who make us mad, or who make us cry? We're instructed to love because people who are not like us are still people like us. Those words are probably a little familiar to many of you. I say them as part of my blessing at the end of many services. As we go forth into the world to love as Christ loves us, let us never forget that people who are not like us are still people like us. The words of this blessing are drawn from a prayer offered by Rabbi Lord Sachs, who is the chief rabbi of the United Kingdom. He offered them before the U.S. Senate in November of 2011. Here are his words. Sovereign of the universe, who created all in love, teach us to love all that is good and beautiful in this world. Teach us to honor the dignity of difference, recognizing that one who is not in our image is nonetheless in your image. Never forgetting that the people not like us are still people like us. Why are we instructed to love our enemies? Because they are like us. They too are human, like us. They too are created in the image of God, like us. They too are children of God, like us. In the midst of contentious times, it can feel impossible to love those who hurt us, or who make us mad, or who make us cry. But when we choose to turn away from the way of love, we deny the full humanity of those we disagree with. We deny the full humanity of those who are not like us and those who are. One of the misconceptions about loving our enemy is that by doing so, we are giving tacit approval to the way in which they have wounded us or others. But that is simply not the case. Just as we are called to love our enemy, we are called to stand against injustice. But our enemy is not the person. Martin Luther King Jr. gave voice to this distinction. When you rise to the level of love, of its great beauty and power, you seek only to defeat evil systems. Individuals who happen to be caught up in that system, you love. But you seek to defeat the system. We are all caught up in evil and unjust systems. And the only way out is love. Now, choosing the way of love, perhaps unsurprisingly, begins with prayer and self-reflection. Who is my anger keeping me from loving? What does it look like for me to see the full humanity of that person? To see them as they truly are, a beloved child of God. What does it look like for me to see the unjust system as the enemy and not the person who, like me, is caught up in the system? As we reflect, we turn to God and ask for the wisdom and courage to face these questions. and our own hesitancy, trusting that the way forward truly is the way of love. And perhaps our prayer can sound something like this. God, I want to love others as you love me. Help me in my struggle to love. Give me the eyes to see the full humanity of those whom I would call enemy. Help me see the deep pain of those who have hurt me and others, and know they too are hurting. Help me to see the fear driving those whose words make my blood boil, and know they too are afraid. Help me to see the pain of those who make me cry, and know they too are weeping. God, help me to love as you love, knowing that people who are not like me are still people like me. Amen.